Hello there, and welcome back to Non-Name Talks.
It's great to be here.
Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, today we're getting into something pretty fundamental in psychology, this whole self-esteem versus self-compassion thing. We kind of know self-esteem, right? It's basically that feeling of personal worth, how we judge ourselves.
Right. How we evaluate ourselves, positively or negatively.
But self-compassion, maybe quickly define that one for everyone listening.
Sure. Self-compassion is, well, it's more about the attitude you have towards yourself,
Yeah,
especially when things go wrong, when you fail, or you're suffering.
so less judgment, more kindness.
Exactly. Kindness, understanding,
Yeah.
accepting that you're struggling instead of beating yourself up.
Got it. And for years, you hear people arguing that self-compassion is like the healthier way, that
Yeah.
it gives you these special protective benefits that maybe self-esteem doesn't because SE can be fragile. So today we're digging into that claim. We looked at a really big meta-analysis. What was it? 76 studies.
That's right. 76 studies and a huge number of people, over 35,000 participants involved.
Wow. Okay, so the mission here was to figure out, does self-compassion really add unique value? Is it truly distinct? So let's unpack it. First off, how related are these two? Are they actually rivals?
Well, that was maybe the biggest surprise, the idea that their rivals are only, moderately connected. The data suggests otherwise. The average correlation we found between self-esteem and self-compassion was really quite strong.
How strong?
0.65?
Why?
0.65. That's a pretty substantial overlap, statistically speaking. Much higher than you'd expect if they were truly distinct constructs only moderately linked.
Okay, 0.65. That's definitely high. So if they overlap that much, why the big debate? Why treat them as separate or even like competing things? Is there a difference in how they work?
There is, yeah. Structurally and maybe even biologically. Remember, self-esteem is about positive evaluation. Often comparing yourself, right? I'm good because I succeeded. Self-compassion, though, it's about a positive attitude during difficulty. It kicks in when you aren't succeeding, and it's not about evaluation. And interestingly, they seem to tap into different brain systems. SE is more linked to that sympathetic threat system. Think fight or flight, agency, competition.
Okay, the go-get-'em system?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas SC connects more to the parasympathetic soothing system. That's more about calming down, regulating emotions, feeling connected, self-soothing.
Different systems. So does that mean they protect our mental health differently when we look at things like, say, depression or anxiety?
That's the key question. And what the analysis showed was, well, they were both really important. Both showed comparable, large relationships with well-being, positively, of course.
And negatively with problems like depression, anxiety.
Exactly. Large negative correlations there, too. The effect sizes were pretty similar, actually, ranging between about 0.4, 1.49, give or take. So in terms of sheer protective power against distress, they looked remarkably similar.
So not so different in overall impact then.
In overall impact, no. But, and this is crucial, even when we statistically controlled for that big overlap, that 0.65 correlation we talked about,
Yeah.
both self-esteem and self-compassion still explained unique variance in those outcomes. They each brought something distinct to the table, even after accounting for what they share.
Ah, okay. So they're not rivals. They're more like partners, complementary.
That's exactly how we should see them, based on this data. Complementary concepts for resilience. They work together.
Okay, that makes sense. So if they're partners, which one is easier to like build up if you wanted to intervene, help someone boost their resilience?
That's where it gets interesting from a practical standpoint. The evidence suggests that interventions targeting self-compassion, things like the Mindful Self-Compassion
Your
Program,
MSC.
right,
Yeah.
MSC, those generally show stronger effects and seem, well, maybe a bit easier to get going compared to interventions trying to directly boost self-esteem. SC feels more like a skill you can learn.
So it's a more trainable tool.
It appears so. We saw studies where even brief self-compassion exercises led to, greater self-acceptance, less negative feeling compared to tasks designed to puff up self-esteem. And what's really compelling, SE programs have actually been shown to increase self-esteem in some groups. For example, in teenagers who experienced domestic violence, teaching them self-compassion actually boosted their self-esteem.
Okay, so SC seems like a powerful starting point, maybe the entry door. But you mentioned something that kind of flips this, a longitudinal study.
Yes, exactly. It was
Yeah.
fascinating. Looking at data over 4 years found that self-esteem consistently predicted later levels of self-compassion.
So higher SE now meant higher SC later.
Correct. but it didn't work the other way around. Self-compassion didn't consistently predict future self-esteem in the same way.
Huh. What does that suggest then?
Well, it suggests that maybe self-esteem is the more foundational trait. Perhaps it's a more sort of generic, positive self-view that provides the groundwork, the basis upon which you can then build that compassionate response towards yourself when needed.
So SE might be the soil, and SC is the plant that grows in it, something like that.
That's one way to think about it, yeah. SE might be the underlying foundation.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. The big takeaway seems to be, forget the rivalry, it's not really SC versus SC.
Not at all. They're deeply connected. They work together. They're complementary. You likely need both for really solid psychological resilience.
They both matter, and they both bring something unique, even with that big overlap.
Precisely. And this leads us to, well, a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. If self-esteem, that basic feeling of worth, is maybe the more fundamental trait, the one that predicts your ability to be self-compassionate later, what does that mean for, say, therapy or personal growth?
Right, doesn't mean we should aim for both.
Possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you start with self-compassion because it's an effective tool that helps you cope right now. But perhaps long-term, you also need to address those core self-esteem beliefs. Is that the ultimate foundation we need to strengthen? Something to consider.